Streaming live.
So glad you could make it. All right. All right. Gail's there. Can admit her in, and then we can get started. I appreciate your patience here. Okay. Are you there, Gail? You're on mute. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to so I would like to introduce Cheryl. Cheryl is the owner of a company called The Author's Assistants. And she's got over 35 years of experience. And she's the one who's been helping me here lately with my launch and getting my ebook out to the world. So her goal is to help authors and people who are interested in publishing ebooks and books, anything that they need to have help with the production and the creation and the launching of books. So welcome, Cheryl. Thank you so much for being my co-host today.
Thank you, Rhonda.
I'd also like to introduce Nina. Nina, if you want to show your pretty face, Nina is what I call a virtual assistant. There she is. Hi.
Hi.
She's actually in the Philippines, and so it's after midnight her time. And so I really appreciate that she stayed awake for us today so she can help us out on this call. And because of where she lives and her bandwidth issues, she's going to go probably turn her video off, but we will still remember your face. So thank you for showing it.
Yes, thank you. Nice to see you guys.
Okay.
So now it's my turn to introduce Rhonda. So Rhonda Denney is an award-winning quilter, educator, mentor, and the architect of a special technique, pigment patchwork. Rhonda helps quilters and fiber artists learn to color on fabric with confidence by offering lectures, workshops. Her programs, Get Pigment Confident, and now this book. As a seasoned artist and patchwork enthusiast, Rhonda has a strong affinity for capturing the spirit of her subjects and helping others to learn the diversity, complexity, and addictiveness of using fabric, pigments, stitches to create bold, beautiful, and impressive statements in their own artwork. This book is the beginning of a new journey in quilting. For years, art quilters have been seeing Rhonda's work and wanting to know how she does it. The fact that she is now sharing her artistic secrets, not only valuable beyond measure, it is also quickly becoming the spark that's igniting the new pigment passion in the industry. Take it away, Rhonda.
Thank you, Cheryl. And actually, I will admit I am an addict. And I hope to get more people addicted to using pigments to color on fabric because it's a lot of fun. Okay, so this particular launch, this is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to try to keep it as close as possible to an hour because I know everyone's busy. We're going to start out with an introduction and welcome. I'm going to give a real quick overview of the ebook. And I actually have a copy of it, and I'm going to open it with my Kindle app, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. And it may be a little different than what you've seen before because it's a fixed format because of all the graphics that are in the book. And then I'm going to share some reader testimonials. And I have a very special guest with me today, and she's going to come on and share her experience with it. And I can't ask for a better promoter than someone who has actually got the book and has used it like she has. Then I'm going to talk about the SIPA EVVY Awards. And I've been talking about that for the last couple of weeks, and I am so excited to share how that worked. And I'm going to have Cheryl do that because she's the expert on the SIPA EVVY since she helped with the award dinner this year. Then I'm going to talk about some other items of interest, and I'm going to do a call for action because I would love for you to buy my book and my ebook. Also, I would love for you to do reviews because I really need those. And then we're going to do some closing remarks and then open it up to Q&A. So those of you who have to leave can, but so everyone knows this is being recorded. Or is it being recorded? You know what? I don't think I'm recording. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, welcome everyone. And I'm sorry I forgot to start recording until just now, but basically this is our agenda for the launch for this session. I'm hoping to keep it to an hour, and here are the topics we're going to cover. And If you missed it today live or watching the live streaming on my Facebook page, then we will provide you a link to the recording and you can watch it there. So these are the things we're going to cover. And I'm going to try to keep it to an hour, as I mentioned. And then at the end, we're going to open up Q&A so that if those of you who have other commitments want to, you can slip off and go do your thing and then come back and watch the recording. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat or the Q&A. There's actually two options there. And we will be sure that Nina is looking at those and I can look at them and Cheryl may catch them as well. Hopefully I will answer your questions during the presentation itself. Otherwise, we can address them later during the tail end of the presentation. So if I haven't already answered your question, make sure I do. And if we run out of time, then I'll make sure I follow up with you. Okay, first thing I want to do here, I'm going to stop share for a minute so I can show you. The ebook. Okay, here it is. So this is what you can purchase starting today. And we have a very special price and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But I wanted to show you very quickly that it's essentially a full color version of the book. So it gives you a mobile book that you can use. And if you want to use both, I know I personally like the feel of having a hard, a soft cover book so I can sort of skim through it. But there are some benefits to having an ebook because you can search and you can go quickly to things. And it just makes it, some people love them and some people would prefer staying with the soft cover. But I'm going to provide both because I like to make people happy. So in here, every page that's in my book is in the ebook. And here, to give you an idea, is the start of the contents. It's 146 pages, I believe, or 152. I can't even remember how many because they count the cover into it. But I have a lot of different information, including patterns and templates and reference materials. So you should have plenty of information for you to start your journey. And it comes with a lot of full color pictures of my projects so that you can be inspired. I'm also really pleased to say that I have a foreword by Ricky Timms. He's a very renowned quilter, author, and teacher, but he's also the co-host of the quiltshow.com. And I was really thrilled that I was able to be on one of their shows. And if you are not a member of the Quilt Show, you can go and do a temporary membership and watch it. And then if you put your credit card in, you can get a free membership for a week. And once you watch my show, you can get off and cancel and it won't cost you a thing. I also have some of my trailers on my website. So there's a lot of information here on my website so you can go and see things about me. And then the whole thing just starts. This is basically the format. It's very colorful if you haven't seen the book. I wanted to make it fun. But we do get down and serious in things because I want you to understand how easy it can be to start playing with pigments. And that's the key, is just learning from experience. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Okay, so what is in the book? It's got introductory and detailed information on pigments, fabrics, and patchwork techniques. So this book is useful for someone who's never done anything with pigments, or it's useful for someone who has some experience, or it's even useful for someone who has done a lot of experience, but most of us tend to sort of focus on, we kind of go down tunnels and do certain things. And this will allow you to sort of say, well, maybe I can expand that and play and do different things. Most of all, it's got information on my techniques. And these are my tried and true methods that I've used over the years to test things. And that's the key. Before you actually use something on your masterpiece, then you want to make sure that you experiment and test it. And it really makes a difference. There's also advice and recommendations about fabric projects using pigments. And that goes even beyond just coloring on the surface. I go into recommendations for when you want to quilt it or add stitching to it and even finishing it, because there's so many different ways to do it. And if you're a quilter, you understand that. But sometimes you have to think about, okay, I want to do these things, but I've used pigments to color on my fabric. So is there something different that I should do? And that's what I've included here. And in order to help people learn about my techniques, I have exercises or learning assignments. And if you truly want to learn my techniques, I recommend that you follow those assignments, and you will definitely learn my techniques and gain experience. And at the same time, you will gain confidence. And that's what it comes down to. There's patterns for the learning activities. You can use my patterns in the reference materials, but you can actually do your own thing if you want. But the good thing about the patterns is then I share some results and you can see the differences, and I can talk about things that happen. There's also tips and suggestions for finishing it, which I kind of referred to earlier. And then once you've done one, where do you go from there? I have suggestions on what to do next, so that you can take the tools that you've learned from using this book to learn and add them to your toolbox and pull them out whenever you want them. And that's the beauty of this. You are in control of how you use these techniques. You choose when you want to use them and how you want to use them. And I have successfully used them in pieced quilts. I have used them in applique quilts, and I've actually done whole cloth, which is just a single sheet of, a piece of fabric. And I've colored my entire design using pigments. The possibilities are endless. And then I also highlight all of my suggestions and my recommendations with my own projects. So luckily I was smart enough to take in progress pictures so you can see how I developed things. And I think that is sometimes the best instructor, is when you see a piece in progress and see where it's going to. And hopefully I'll inspire you in the process. So the purpose for this launch is to let you know that I have a very special launch price for the next 5 days. And the book, the ebook, is on Amazon now. And Amazon is the only place that you can purchase the ebook. But there's a special price of $3.95 for 5 days. So that's today, Wednesday, September 6th through Sunday, September 10th. And starting Monday, it will be turned back to the regular ebook price of $14.95. And I'm not exactly sure when that's going to happen, but I don't want you to wait that long if you really want the book. So don't wait until Monday and say, oh, is it still that same price? So grab it now while you have the chance. And please, please write me a review. I would love to get your feedback, because that tells me that I am addressing what people need. And the nice thing about reviews are other people know that it's a useful book, or they may know, well, it works for this, but and anyway, it's your story in terms of how good the book is. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. Okay, now I want to go for some testimonials. So what I want to do is I'm going to spotlight her. And Susan Berry is here. And actually, Cheryl, I'm going to hope everyone can see Susan. Susan, would you like to introduce yourself and just tell us what you think about the book?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Was fortunate enough to have taken a class with Rhonda last year at some point. I can't remember when. And it was actually the second class that I had ever taken that had to do with paints, and pigments on fabric. And after the first one that I took, which wasn't with Rhonda, I don't even remember who it was with, I had just gotten the basics, but I had so many questions, and it left me with a desire to learn it, but not enough confidence to try it. And so then I saw your class, Rhonda, listed, and I signed up for it. And it was a wonderful class because it answered so many of my questions, and it
thank you.
Experiment with different pigments and different setting mediums, and just so that I knew then what I preferred for various projects. I of course, was very inspired by Rhonda's quilts that you can see behind her. And of course, after the class, near the end of the class, we all had so many questions about her quilts. And in her book, she uses her own quilts and examples. Like she said, she took photos along the way that explain how she did them, which to me is invaluable, because we get inspired by something and we want to know how you did that. And so the book, took us through those processes. And what I like so much about your book too is how, first of all, beautifully colored it is. The color in it is wonderful. I ordered just an aside, I ordered another quilting book that I saw that I wanted on Amazon, and I had to send it back because the way it was printed, I couldn't even see the photos. It was just really dark. So this one is just like eye candy. And
Ooh, thank you.
So that and the organization, the experimenting, the activities you take us through, then assignments, but also what comes through is your encouragement. So that if it doesn't work right, we are not discouraged. And as far as my own quilting, what I've done so far, I haven't done any large quilts. Recently, I took a quilting. If I'm talking too much, please stop me. I don't
Actually,
know
and maybe one more minute, just because
Okay.
we have so much else to cover. Great.
Okay.
I don't want to stop you because it all sounds so good.
No. Well, it was making quilts with our favorite book covers. And so I did two with two book covers I like, but I will tell you where the real hit has been was with my grandsons, because they saw what I did. And so they did some drawings, and they put the medium on it, and those were turned into quilted pillows. So
Wonderful. Oh, how exciting. It's amazing all the different ways that we can use colored fabrics, and especially it's your own voice, that's your artwork right there. That's
Right.
wonderful. Thank you, Susan, so much. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what I want to do is I'm going to talk about a couple of other reviews that I got. And I have a friend, Denney. She actually had a conflict today. So I said, would you please send me something? Because I didn't want to leave her out. She says, yeah, I'm so disappointed, but she had such a hard time getting into this appointment. So this is what she sent me, and I'd like to read it to you. And I've known Denney for several years now, and she is just a sweetheart, very much a supporter for me. In fact, she was one of my reviewers for the book when I first was working on it. And that, I'll tell you, that process of getting people to review it is very beneficial. But she says, once in a great while, I have come across a book that teaches a process that opens my mind to endless possibilities. Rhonda's Pigment Patchwork is one of those books. As I go through the exercises, it isn't a step 1, step 2, step 3, you're done. And if you make a mistake, oh well. This book keeps my mind thinking, what if I do this? Or what if I do that? Or I can do this, or I can do that. Also, if I make a mistake, there's information on what to do as well. This process makes me see the world in a new way, always looking around my environment that I can recreate using the process. I can't say enough good things about Rhonda's book or her creative process. Thank you, Denney. That's wonderful. I can talk all day about how great I think my book is, because it's based on my teachings for many, many years. And I see the results from people who take my classes. But when you write a book, you're always worried about getting that feedback. Have I met the mark? And with Susan, with your feedback and with Denney's now, it just makes me feel really good. And that's why reviews are so powerful. So there's another one too. And what really excites me is, this is from a gal, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not really sure what her name is. This was posted on Amazon, and they are anonymous. So this is it must be her ID or something, but she is from Italy, and she purchased my book. And this is the review she wrote. She said, fabulous. I have been following the author for a long time. Her works are extraordinary. And finally, a book where she explains her techniques in a very accurate way. And this is obviously translated because she entered it in Italian, but it just also makes me feel really good that I've got people all over the world that see value in what I've put together in the book. So thank you, everyone. The reviews are most appreciated, and I'm always welcoming them. In fact, Cheryl, can you chat a little bit about, the value of testimonials? Why should we get them, and how they might help an author? Because you are the expert for that.
Well, reviews and testimonials are very important for an author. Number one, just about every author is on Amazon, and Amazon likes to follow people's reviews, and the more reviews you get, the more traffic Amazon will send towards your book, and it helps boost sales in that. But also, it also comes to serve people that are looking to buy, and that they will read those reviews to make sure that it's exactly what they want. Reviews are just vitally important to any author.
Thank you very much. I couldn't have said it better myself. Okay, and Cheryl, this is good timing, because I would like for Cheryl to talk about the SIPA EVVY Awards. And I've been on pins and needles for the last 2 weeks because I got notified that I was a finalist, which blew me away, because it's a very prestigious award. And I said, wow, but they wouldn't tell me. And I had to wait until this past week, and I went to the award dinner, and Cheryl helped put that together. So she was there giving out the awards, and I'm actually wearing mine, but I'm not going to tell you what I got yet. So go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, I'm also the executive admin for SIPA, the Colorado Independent Publishers. And when I was updating the website, I saw Rhonda's name come up a couple times in the winners listing. And I'm having to work with her, and I can't say anything. So that was a little difficult. So what are the SIPA EVVY Awards? SIPA EVVYs is one of the longest running book award competition in the indie publishing scene. This is our 29th year of doing it. Next year will be our 30th year, obviously. It's an annual contest sponsored by the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, SIPA, CIPA, along with the SIPA's Educational Literacy Foundation, which is ELF. The SIPAs receive entries from all over the world, including England, Belgium, South Africa, Russia, Dubai, even, with a growing number of countries and nearly 50 categories, book categories. The SIPA EVVYs continue to provide an excellent way for independent authors to gain recognition for their work. Would you like me to go into the judging process?
Sure, if you like, or I can, you probably can do it much better than I could. So please.
Okay, well, the judging is tough, the way the book competition should be. Judges are selected through SIPA's judging qualification process. Then they include teachers, business leaders, librarians, authors, critics, editors, readers, and people from all walks of life, basically people who love books. Our judges just know about books. The SIPA entries are received and scored according to an established minimum criteria. Awards in each category are based on the highest scores. However, in order to be eligible for first place, second place, and third place, each book must receive a minimum scoring requirement set for each award level. Each book is given out to 4 or 5 different reviewers, and all of the scores that come in are collaborated, and then they go through a process and that to get the final score. So it's a really rigorous process, and it takes us from February up until June to get everything handled. So it's a long process.
Great. So the big question is, how did Pigment Patchwork Artful Techniques for Fabric Embellishment do? And drum roll, please. Where's my arrow? There we go. Here's what I did. This is how I ended up. So Cheryl said there's 50 different categories. Now there's genres there's different genres, and then within those they have categories. Do I have that right in terms of the terminology? Okay. And so when you apply, the author says, okay, I want to apply for this one and this one. So we choose which one we think is appropriate. And many of them aren't because of what my book's all about. But I thought that art and design would be appropriate, and the how-to and the do-it-yourself for sure. And so I'm just so excited that I got the second place award for the in that category. And then I got the gold in the do-it-yourself and the how-to. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I am wearing, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm wearing my little pins, and I have the permission to put my little, what do you call them? Are they like emblems or?
Yeah, we call them stickers. They have digital stickers
Stickers.
for each place. Mhm.
Okay. So I can actually put this on my book cover. So the next time I update my book, which I probably need to do pretty quick because I'm pretty darn proud of having these awards. And it makes me feel really good. So that tells me from people who know books that I did it right. And oof, that makes me feel really good. Okay, with that in mind, if I've got you all excited about wanting my book and you don't already have it, where can you find it? Well, a couple of places. And just to reiterate, my ebook normal price is $14.95, but it's on a special price now through Sunday the 10th at $3.95. And then my soft, excuse me, I got to take a drink of water. My soft cover book is $39.95. And you can get the book and ebook through Amazon.com. And all you have to do is type Rhonda Denney on the search bar, and it will take you right through. You can also type in Pigment Patchwork, and it'll find it as well. And what's nice about that is I am reaching across the world. Wherever there's an Amazon.com that carries the books like that, they can purchase my books. Now, the disadvantage is they're in English, but I'm also looking into maybe getting some of them translated. But the question is, what language? And that's going to be quite an event to do that. But that might be something down the road. And as I mentioned before, the ebook is only in a format that is supported by the Kindle. And there are Kindle apps that you can, I think they're free from what I understand. In fact, mine was free off of the App Store. So if you buy the book, you don't have to have the Kindle. And I guess it's a piece of hardware. You can just use your iPad, or you can use your phone if it works on that. The other place you can get it is on my website, rhondadenney.com. And here's the plus. It costs you $39.95, but you will get a signed book. I will sign the front page, and I can also personalize it for you. So if you want it for yourself, I can say, Sandy, good luck with what you're doing, or whatever. If you want somebody to say something special, just let me know. Or if you want to buy it as a gift for someone, a creative person that you know, then just tell me that person's name and I will personalize it for them. When you buy it from me, I will also include a couple little extras, because I do have to charge you a flat rate shipping fee. And unfortunately, I have to make sure that I cover my costs. And so that gets passed on to you, but I do give you some extra things just to thank you for doing that. But the good thing too is my website has lots of other things for sale that are related to my artwork, and you can buy those and I'll stick them in the same one for the same price. So you might as well. The third option is you can get them directly from me. If I am going to an event where I'm teaching or presenting, or you see me, I'm usually carrying my book around with me. Don't worry, they're all safe. They're not all beat up. And I can sign it from you, and you can buy it from me. So those are your options as far as that goes. But just to reiterate, the ebook is only available through Amazon.com. And again, if you have any questions about anything, just put them in the chat. Okay, so some other items of interest. I have done several 8-week Get Pigment Confident challenges, and I'm getting ready to start another one. So what is this thing? It's actually a learning opportunity. And the good thing is that the Pigment Patchwork Artful Techniques for Fabric Embellishments book is a great companion if you want to take this course. You don't have to have the book. It's made up of it's a little app that I have, and all of my lessons, my video lessons are in the app. It has assignments that you do, and it's actually quite similar to what you're doing in the book. But some people like having more of a structured approach where they are, and I don't know about you, but I'm the same way, because I like having deadlines. I like, okay, I got to get this done, and I'll fit it in my schedule. But the other good thing about this approach is that as busy as we all are, you can look at these lessons in the app anytime you want. You don't have to come to a set time where I'm presenting information. You can look at it anytime you want in the app and do your assignments. And we have an online accountability group that's assigned to this particular period of time. It is a private Facebook group, and no one else can see anything, but it gives anyone who's involved in the challenge the opportunity to share pictures, ask questions, comment, get encouragement from each other, and I can also add comments in there. So it's a really nice way to get to encourage yourself and others who are on the same journey, but all of our journeys are different because we all come in at a different level. And then once a week, we do a live Zoom call with the group, so I can ask questions, I can answer questions, I can ask questions too, but we can share and we can celebrate everybody's progress through the whole thing. So some details on this one coming up. My goal is to have it start the week of September 27th. And I want to have my initial, so the way I work is people sign up for it, and then we do our initial team meeting. And in this case, I set the date for that one. It's on a Wednesday on this September 27th. And I'll figure out, depending on who is signed up, because I've had people all around the world participate in this. We figure out what's the best time to do this, because the team is the ones who are going to decide when we want to do our follow-on Zoom meetings, our weekly meetings, because I want to accommodate everyone's calendars. Then the challenge actually starts Saturday, September 30th, because my goal is to drop training on a weekly basis. So I don't have people going ahead. I don't have, this way people are kind of saying, okay, I've got this week's assignment, I want to get this done. And then we'll talk about it that week. And then they know that they're going to get the next week assignment and videos that following Saturday. So it helps people get motivated and push themselves through it and do it. So, but what I also do is, it's more than 8 weeks. It's 2 extra working session weeks, because I know life gets in the way sometimes. But the good thing about this challenge is if you do the assignments, you will take something that you start from scratch and take it all the way through to a finished piece. Now, they're not very big, because I want you to make sure you get them done. So they're probably 8 by 10, or you can make it bigger if you want. But to me, that is the best way to learn, is if you can go all the way through the process. And then what you learn from that, you can apply to whatever other projects you want. So I'm going to be doing a special 10% discount off the challenge price if you register by Wednesday, September 20th. And that's like a week before we start. So in order to register, you need to book a call with me. And that way I can answer any of your questions, talk to you about what the cost is and what your goals are and everything else. And I've had people who have just been thrilled about the results of attending this. So I'm hoping that you will join me. And I've given you a little incentive there with the 10% discount. This is just another plug for people to help me and help others by writing a review. And I have seen on Amazon that people have rated my book and they've given me 5 stars, which is fantastic. I love that. But what I really like is when they add a comment about why. Why did you give me 5 stars? Why did you give me 3 stars? Because that helps me, and it tells me whether I'm hitting my target or whether I maybe need to think about doing other things for maybe another book. You know, am I missing something that I can do later and create something else for people to learn from? And so I would love, as Cheryl was saying, the more reviews I have, the better Amazon's going to treat me. And that's great. I would love to have all the help I can get. If you don't want to do Amazon.com, and if you have any problems with going in and maneuvering through all the windows to do something, contact me and I will guide you through it, because I have done it myself. And it can be intimidating at times, but it's pretty straightforward once you get familiar with it. I would love to help you walk through it so you get familiar, so you can fill it out. So again, the best place is on Amazon.com, but also on my website, there is a banner at the top of my webpage that says link to my book. And you can go right into that, and where my book is with the information about it, there's another opportunity to add a review. And the only disadvantage to that is I could possibly take those and copy them and put them into Amazon, but Amazon uses your login to validate whether it's a verified person. So people just don't go fill them in with the things that they want to have people say. It's also a difference whether you bought it from them, but therefore you become a verified purchase, but you can still do a review, and that's okay. as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't matter that you bought it from them or if you bought it from me. If you still want to do a review on Amazon, that should be perfectly fine. Or if you don't want to do either one of those two because it involves the getting on a computer and getting out there in the internet, and here you're going to have to do it anyway, but if you're familiar or comfortable with email me your review and I'll create it for you on my website. I just want the feedback. And so I want to thank you in advance for taking the time to do that. And I really appreciate it. So people ask me, well, what should I say? And I say, well, think about why did you buy the book? Were you intrigued because someone talked about it? Did you like the cover? What is it that you liked about it or didn't like? And just share that in your review, and that will help other people discover the book as well. Sandy, do you have any advice on writing a review? Sandy, do you have any advice? I don't know if she
Not
can hear
really.
me.
I'm sorry. Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I really don't. Sorry.
Okay. And Susan, how about you? You wrote one.
Yeah, no, I found it was very easy to write.
Great. I hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot, but
Oh, no.
I appreciate your input, both of you. Okay. Well, so I think we still have plenty of time, so we have some opportunity for some discussion, but this is sort of my call to action, and it's my thank you for joining us. And I would love for you to buy my book or my ebook. I would love for you to come and play with me with the Get Pigment Confident Challenge. And if you want to learn more about me, I do posts on my social media pages, but if you want to join my newsletter, I do send those out, and I'm trying to get better about doing that. But the nice thing about my newsletter is I try to give you a link to my posts, and I tell you a little bit about what the posts are about, so you can pick and choose what you want to listen to. But my newsletter is an opportunity for me to get the information out to people who don't use the internet. And if you are not already signed up for my newsletter, if you just go to my website, there's a link there that says join my newsletter. And when you do that, I will give you a little gift. I'll give you a PDF, a different PDF, another learning aid about using pigments on fabric. And this is another plug you can shop for a lot of different things on my website. So go over there and start exploring. I have a lot of fun things. I had a lot of people who tell me, I love this piece, but I can't afford your original, or it's not even available. So I tell them I've got books, this book, and I've got another book that I wrote earlier. I have limited edition prints in various sizes. I have note cards. I even have printed fat quarter panels, so you can take those, and I've had people make them into quilts, wall hangings. And that started because a friend of mine was doing the Quilts of Valor, and she wanted my eagle with the American flag. And so that was my first one that I sent off to have it printed, and she used it in the Quilt of Valor, and it was so popular. So I've had people, and Henry the Goat is also a very popular panel, and he's been made into wall hangings. I had one gal who took one of mine, and she used it to practice her free motion stitching. In fact, that's a class I teach about free motion stitching for Dimension. And she liked it so much, what she was able to do with it, that she just framed it. She didn't even make it into a quilt. She just framed it as a picture. I also have stickers and magnets and little pins and coasters with my artwork on it. And if you see something that's not say if you want a coaster of a certain one of my prints, they're all based on photographs of my work. So if you see something like a coaster and you want another subject on it, just let me know. I don't know what people want. So that feedback is really good for me. So you can always get a hold of me by email through the website. All right. And just a reminder, this is being recorded. Started a little late. Sorry about that. But we will make that available soon, and we will post the details of how you can watch that. And as a thank you for joining our live session, oops, I got my grammar wrong here. You will get, those of you who are here on the live will get a reference aid, and we'll email that to you soon. Okay, the next one is our Q&A portion of the session. But before we go to that, I just wanted to share with you, this is something that I can't say enough. The key thing about about using pigments on fabric and just life itself. You know, you want to join in the fun. You want to explore. And in this case, you want to explore using pigments to color on fabric. And with the tools that I give you from this book, you can experiment to your heart's desire. In fact, I love it because people will come back to me and say, have you ever done this? And I said, no. They said, wow, it's really neat, or oh, it doesn't work. And that's the beautiful thing about this. There are so many different ways to use pigments. And so many times people tell me, have you done this before? I said, no. And they say, oh, I said, well, try it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And then you can share with me how it came out. And I love it when people send me pictures of their pieces that they've used pigments on so that I can help them brag. And I get so excited when they do that. So my whole message is you too can be a pigment trailblazer. And a pigment trailblazer is someone who is not afraid to use pigments to color on fabric. Okay, next we are going to do Q&A. Do we have any questions from the... Let's see. I know someone had asked me, let's see, Susan or Sandy or Gail, do you have any questions, or Nina or Cheryl? I'm looking through here to see if there's any.
There's no questions in the chat. I'm looking.
Okay, great. Oh, good. Sandy, thank you for the ebook purchase. I really appreciate that. And thanks, Susan, for the well-deserved comment. Great. Okay, well, maybe some questions will come up, and I'm just going to go. We have another 15 minutes or so to go. People have asked me, how did I ever start using pigments to color on fabric? And let me get a drink of water first. It actually started because I was trying to do a piece that had a face on it, and I couldn't find fabric that was the right color. And perhaps it was because of where I lived. We lived remotely off grid on a ranch. And so I had limited options with where I could find fabric. So I decided, why don't I just try to create my own colors on it? And so I just started experimenting. And it was really fun because I then was able to spend some time with my teacher from grade school, an art teacher, and she's a family friend, and she shared with me some of her techniques. And that got me thinking, it's like, wow. And that also is another comment that I have. You know, my techniques are not new, they're not unique, but my combination of using them and my encouragement might be different than what you've ever heard from anybody else. And so when I had created something, I showed it to a gentleman who owns a travel agency, sort of in the niche market for quilters. And he said, I've never seen anything like this before. And he said, you need to come up with a term. And so he and I brainstormed and came up with this pigment patchwork term. And I love it because it kind of helps put a big umbrella over everything that I do. But none of my techniques are something that you could trademark, or say, oh, that's mine and mine only. Because every time I create a quilt, every time I go to a class, every time I go to a quilt retreat or work with friends, in the process of experimenting, we learn so much. And all I have done is put a structure around it and some encouragement to do that. And so my template that I have in the book gives you a way to do that. And that foreknowledge about how it's going to work will allow you to see how pigments work on fabric. And that's what I learned when I was trying to create fabric for this face. And I tried some things and I didn't like how it worked. So I said, okay, well, let me try something else. And then the other challenge that you have is, okay, that looks really nice, but it's going to go on fabric and it's going to go on a wall. And how long will that pigment stay? And I found things smearing. And so I had to figure out, okay, what can I do to make it more permanent? And that's always a challenge. And I don't care what you do, nothing is absolutely permanent. If a good example of that is when you buy fabric and if you wash it, you start seeing that it starts to fade because that's just the reality of the fabrics. So that got me thinking about all of the different ways that fabric is made and all of the different fibers that go into fabric. And so one of the things that I do is I don't just stick to cotton. I play with all kinds of different fabrics that you might not even think to use in a quilt, in an art quilt. And I use pigments on them. And depending on what pigment I use, I'm very successful, and others I learn lessons. So I don't really think there's anything as like there's no such thing as a mistake. They're all learning lessons, and we learn something from them. Sometimes we get aggravated about it, but if you think about it, there's always something we learn. So it's a good thing.
Susan
So that's
asked-
how I got started. Sure.
Susan asked the question about, have you ever used pigments on silk?
Yes, I have, Susan. And you know, it's interesting because of what the fibers that the silk are made of. Some pigments work really well, and the aloe helps a lot, and some of the other mediums help. In fact, if you go and see, that's the other thing. There are a lot of bits and pieces of how you can use pigments on different fabrics. If you go to YouTube and you say, you know, how do I use this pigment on silk? You may find some videos on that. And there's a lot of information out there, but I don't think there's any other way that you can sort of pull it together and say, okay, how can I apply that for me? And that was one of the comments that a friend of mine said, you know, I could spend years going out and trying to take all these videos. By having this book, I'm getting myself a way to move forward, and then I can ask the questions I need based on where I'm at with my journey, which I think is really, really important. But yes, you can use it. In fact, I have silk here. So can you see the elephant behind me? That's actually organza. And I have pigment on it. I also have stitching. So that's the beautiful thing. You can use pigments and stitching to help create your, if you can get me out of the way so you can see some of it.
That's
If
beautiful.
I don't know if I can change it so you can see it better.
Yeah.
There you go. But that was fun because I was able to use the fabric, the dimensionality of it. So the layers helped me create that dimension as well. So I didn't know until I practiced or I experimented and see, oh, I like that. So that's the beautiful journey that you have when you're trying to play with these kinds of things.
Okay,
Thanks for the question.
sure.
Anybody have any others? Okay, I'm trying to think what other questions people ask me. Oh, one of the questions that people ask me, you know, when they're thinking about maybe using this book to learn, or even take my 8-week Get Pigment Confident challenge, they say, well, how long is it going to take me? You know, if I'm taking this challenge, how much time during a week do I have to spend doing this? Because as busy as people are, sometimes we don't have a lot of extra time. And my recommendation in terms of time management and planning is to at least give yourself an hour each week, or an hour a couple times a day, or a couple of days during that week to do the assignment. It really depends on how much you want to experiment and how much you want to do. And we're all at different levels in our journey. So from that standpoint, you do whatever amount you want to invest in it. And that's what it is. It's an investment of your time. The more you do, the more you play, the more confident you're going to be. And the more, you know, I don't know if I want to call it success, but the more satisfied you might be of your results. And that brings up another really good point. We are all comparing ourselves to other quilters. Oh, I love that quilt. I can't do that. Well, no, you might not do that, but you do your own thing. And so we all have our own creative voice. And so it's much like what the masters did in the olden days, in the early days of art, where they would have students that would try to copy their work in order to understand how they did their techniques. And then once they got those techniques down, then they went on and created their own. So that's kind of what you want to look at those quilts to be. It's like, oh, and then you ask the questions, well, how did they do that? And if you can find them and ask them, and if they're willing to share, then you can learn something, and then you can take that back and use that to play yourself. But when I get frustrated with things, I step back and I say, oh, wait a minute, you know, no, their work is beautiful, but it's their voice, and I'm doing my own. And I take that as inspiration. I come back and do my own. But the key is that I am recognizing that I'm increasing my own confidence and my own ability. And I'm watching myself, my own work from day to day, and see my improvements and be inspired by others. So I do know that's very hard because I do it too. It's just human nature, but that's the lessons that I learned. Any other questions? Oh, let's see. There's no, are you offering any more one-day classes online? Okay, will you be teaching at any shows coming up? Right now, I've been focusing on, I did one online show at Mancuso, but now I've gotten so busy. We rescued a little paraplegic puppy dog, and he's been taking a lot of our time. And so with this book launch and everything, I haven't had time to really apply. And you do have to apply several months, actually probably even 6 months before a show to get on it. But one other thing that I heard, the quilt show that I had a chance to be on, they are going to have a traveling version of it with some quilts, and they asked me to send them one of mine. So the chameleon that you see on my cover of my book is going to be going, the original is going to go to them, and they will have it at various shows. And what I would like to do is contact the shows and see if maybe I can teach a class in conjunction with that, because I think that would be a great way to do that. But I haven't done that yet. So that's all on me. Normally my classes are taught through guilds, but if someone can get at least 6 people together, talk to me and I will do it online for you. The thing is, I've got to make sure that I have enough people in the class. And that's what happened. I had an in-studio class here in my studio. Somebody said, well, we want to come and we want to play. I said, well, if you can get 6 people together, we all came here and we had a workshop. So I'm more than happy. A lot of times the guilds want to do it because they have a broader reach to other people. But if you're part of a guild and you want me to come teach, tell them I want Rhonda there, and then they can get in touch with me. I have a presentation that I do about my journey. Usually they'll have me do that, and then I teach the workshop the next day. In fact, next week, I have a confetti landscape workshop that I'm doing. In fact, these 2 pieces right here behind me, this one and this one, are samples for that workshop. And that's going to happen next Wednesday. So, and that one, the guild contacted me, said, hey, we want you to come teach. So that's basically a lot of the ways that I reach out to people, but I am willing to do it if you can get enough people together for me. I am working on trying to do some more online where it's on demand, so you don't have to have someone there, but I'm not there yet. Sorry. Just too much else going on. But and so that's actually a really good plug for my newsletter. If you will sign up for my newsletter, I can keep you posted on things like that. So thanks.
Well, I just want to say that you are a really good teacher too.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
I really enjoyed
appreciate
the class and got a lot out of it just in one day. So,
you know, I sometimes have people get frustrated with me because I had one gal, and bless her heart, she came to me, she says, well, I want to do this. So tell me how. And I said, well, I don't know how. And I said, why don't you try this? And she says, well, no, I don't want to, I just want to do it. And I said, I can't do that, you know, because I don't know for sure what fabric you're using. I don't know for sure, you know, what pigments, because that makes a big difference. And so she got really mad at me. And I said, well, I'm sorry. I don't, you know, there's no cut answer for any of this. And that's probably the biggest learning guide that you have, is there's no black and white. There's a lot of different colors and different shades. Thank you very much, Susan. I appreciate that. Sandy, do you have any questions? Let's see if we have any more.
No, thank you for
And
asking. No.
You bet. And Susan, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I always love hearing how well people like my classes, because to me that when I get done with a class, many times I learn more than I think the students learn, because they are trying things that I didn't have time to do, or I didn't even think about doing that. But I love it because they'll say, look what's happening here. I said, all right. You know, it's wonderful. It's just this interaction, and I love it. And I go home exhausted, but very happy, because it's just been a wonderful exchange of information. So
I just want to clarify that what you taught in the class is in the book. So if you can't take the class, it is in the book.
Exactly. It is for sure. And some of us like to learn different ways. Some people are perfectly fine with a book and they can just go off and do it. Others don't even want guidance. They just want to go play, and that's fine. So others want a little bit more structure. And so I'm hoping that the 8-week Get Pigment Confident Challenge give someone that happy medium where they have support and can ask questions. And by the way, if you are playing with pigments, if you ever have any questions, send me an email. I've had several people do that for me, and they some of them never taken any of my classes, and they were working on something. They said, well, I tried this, but what happened? And so they sent me pictures, and I tried to explain what I thought might have happened. And I said, I don't know what you really did, but here's what I'm thinking. And I'm more than happy to do that, because that's how we learn. And I actually learned something from that interchange too. Great. Okay, well, I think our time is almost up. Let's see what we got next on our agenda here. Okay, so this is how you can get a hold of me. Another way that you can get a hold of me, if I send my newsletter out, at the bottom of the newsletter has all of these links, so you can do that. But I am more than happy to have people contact me with questions. And I really appreciate everyone here. Susan, thank you for sharing your thoughts on the book. I really appreciate that. And Sandy, thanks for buying one. Woohoo, I love it. And I really appreciate you being here, because you're giving me inspiration and support that I'm doing the right thing. Because I really enjoy teaching others and helping them enrich their own creative voice. So thank you all for being here.
Very good.
Thank you.
And everybody have a wonderful day.